I'll call the meeting to order. If you'll please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, first up is the consent agenda. It was in your packet.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, first up, we have Raquela Redding, Senior Administrative Assistant from the jail, and Brandy Brenzel, Office Coordinator from the Sheriff's Office. Discussion and/or decision to approve and sign proclamation designating the month of October 2024 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
So moved. Second.
Shay to approve and sign the proclamation designating the month of October 2024 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I am going to read the proclamation. Whereas breast cancer touches every corner of the United States and hundreds of thousands of Americans will be diagnosed with breast cancer. And whereas we show our support for every individual and every family struggling with breast cancer, and we pause to remember those we have lost. And whereas Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October is a chance to raise awareness about the importance of early detection of breast cancer by getting a mammogram and encouraging our community, organizations, churches, families, and individuals to get involved. And whereas we salute the women and men who dedicate themselves to prevention, detection, and treatment as we observe Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Potawatomi County Board of Supervisors does hereby declare October 2024 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month and encourages all citizens, communities, agencies, organizations, businesses, and schools within Potawatomi County to increase awareness. Approved this first day of October 2024. Melvin, will you call the roll? Oh,
Hold on, can I ask a couple questions?
sure.
Michaela, I know that the Sheriff's Department is selling T-shirts.
We are.
What are you gonna use the funds for?
So we are in our 14th year of selling T-shirts. The funds that we collect go to benefit cancer patients at CHI Mercy Hospital. They use the funds to purchase gas cards for cancer patients when they need them, to help them with groceries, rent and mortgage assistance, utility assistance, all kinds of things like that that patients may need help with, even some of their medical bills. They use those funds for such things.
Is there a day of the week that you're supposed to wear these?
No?
I think the county gets to wear them on Fridays for like casual.
We let them wear them all month,
Oh.
October, one.
Good.
Or whatever kind of breast
Yeah.
cancer.
And the T-shirts are available to the public, not just county employees.
I saw the sign in the lobby downstairs. When did that go up?
We started selling shirts in September, and then we will sell them all through the month of October.
What do you expect to raise?
Well, we are hoping to raise a few $1,000s. This is our 14th year. At the end of last year, we have raised a little over $79,000 in those
Wow.
14 years. So we're pretty
Fantastic.
proud of the work we've done.
Good job.
Pink is the color that's associated with breast cancer.
Correct.
And we will turn the lights on the courthouse pink for the month of October.
Raquel,
Just a little side note, the funds that the sheriff's office raises do not only go to breast cancer patients, they go to all cancer patients.
how does the public or anybody else get a hold of you to get a shirt?
So we have these short sleeve T-shirts available in the office. People can stop in and purchase one in the sheriff's office at the civil counter. Otherwise, they are on sale online, these T-shirts and many other items. and that is on the Anytime Teas website.
Okay,
Okay, well, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
thanks, ladies. Really appreciate your work on this.
Thank you.
It's a nice gesture.
And I know as board, we're all touched by somebody who suffered through breast cancer one way or another, and it's an important mission, and thank you for taking up the charge.
Thank you.
All right, Melvin, will you call the roll, please?
Chairman Miller,
Aye.
Supervisors Bell. And Wickman. Aye. Shay.
Yep.
And Jorgensen.
Aye.
Motion is carried.
Thanks for today.
We can. We were in any meeting on you. That'd be good. Jeanette might be. Either or.
Moving to Chris LaFurla, President and CEO, Council Bluffs Chamber of Commerce and the 712 Initiative. Update on Council Bluffs Chamber and the 712 Initiative merge. Morning, Chris. Thank you for coming in today.
Thanks for having me. I want to thank you all for welcoming me this morning. I spoke with Susan a couple of months ago about getting some time on your calendar to provide an update and hopefully moving forward, we can do a little bit more of a regular update from the Chamber of Commerce and engage in some more strategic discussions as we go. But I wanted to give a quick update on where things are right now with the Chamber of Commerce and the 712 initiative and what we've been working on. The two boards of the organizations announced a merger in October of last year. And I started in January. And since I started in January, we have finalized that merger. The two organizations are now governed by one board of directors. And we are just now beginning, sort of in the middle of doing integration work, trying to figure out how we're going to integrate these two organizations from the programming that we do and all of our systems. But we are fully into that integration now. So the 712 staff are now relocated over to the Chamber of Commerce offices, and we're beginning strategic planning work, mission, vision, values work here in October with the board. So, and I would like to, Mitch, I don't know if it'd be appropriate for me to give you these, but I'd like to get your input at any time that is convenient for you. I just have a quick sort of question sheet for all of you, if you have some time to take a look at the questions and later on send me your input. We are collecting input from a variety of partners and stakeholders on this new organization and, you know, what should we be focusing on? What things should we be aware of in terms of the external environment and where we all see, where you see as a county board of supervisors, the county and the region headed? What should we be aware of? So feel free to answer those questions. If there are other thoughts that are not related to those questions, I'd like to get your input that I can take back to the board as we begin our strategic planning discussions. But that's really where we are right now, is trying to figure out our identity. We'll be doing some mission, vision, values work and some strategic planning that will get us through the next year to year and a half as we finalize the integration between these two organizations. And then hopefully, once we've finalized that integration in a year and a half or so, we can come back and do a more comprehensive strategic planning process.
Mission statement for 712, has it changed?
Nothing has changed
Okay.
yet, but I would say by the end of November, we'll have an integrated mission statement and
Okay,
yes, yeah. That's what we're working on, and that's what, you know, I'd like to get, you know, it can be a part of the input that you provide. And we're also evaluating all the programs and services that we offer at both organizations. But I still, you know, in general, I see the work of the Chamber of Commerce and the 712 initiative being focused in three fundamental areas: business attraction and support, workforce attraction and retention, and community development. What are the big things that we need to be focused on in Council Bluffs and in Pottawatomie County that the Chamber and the 712 Initiative, in partnership with other entities, can play a role in to improve, to grow, and develop the community? As you all know, the 712 Initiative, formerly the Pottawatomie County Development Corporation, is a big driver in their mission has been redevelopment projects and relatively recently, housing rehab. We're all aware of the significant housing shortage that we're facing currently and over the next 20 or 30 years with the predicted growth in the Omaha metro area. I think it's really shining a light on just how urgent the need is for housing development. So we're going to continue in playing the unique role that we can play to, provide density in housing, to grow the workforce, and to make Council Bluffs and Pottawatomie County a pro-business attractable place for businesses and workers to want to relocate. And we're also, in addition to, taking the approach of what our areas of focus are going to be, I am taking a very regional approach to the work that we do. We're part of a larger Omaha metropolitan area. So, it will benefit us to consider that and to look for ways to partner with businesses and the Omaha Chamber of Commerce on specific projects, but also looking at Pottawatomie County. What parts of the work that we do can we deploy in a broader part of the county from a development standpoint, from a business support standpoint, but also workforce. Ultimately, the Chamber of Commerce and the 712 Initiative, we are collaborative organizations. Without partners, without members, without key stakeholders and partners, we can't do the work that we do. We rely on partnerships. And the county is one of those very few critical partnerships, which is why I'm here. I think it's important that we build a strong collaborative partnership and that as a chamber, we demonstrate that we're committed to growing and developing our community that we live in the ways that we can. But it really takes partnerships to do that. So, yeah.
You sound like you're more, just rather than Council Bluffs, you're looking at the greater Pottawatomie County too. So correct?
Well, in our strategic planning that we're going to be doing at the end of October, we have to explore what we can do. And yes, I think that it would be a mistake not to look outside of the Council Bluffs city limits when we're talking about the region. Our workers, the people that work in Council Bluffs, they come from outside of our city limits. The residents that live in Council Bluffs, they go to jobs outside of the city limits. So there's a lot of movement. And, if we are going to take a true regional approach, we have to look at what we can do to support all of the people that are living and working and coming to Council Bluffs for recreation. And those people live outside of city limits too.
Chris, you mentioned recreation coming to Pottawatomie County Council Bluffs. I'm all for making Pottawatomie County and Council Bluffs the tourist mecca of Iowa. Let's put it that way. We've got so much history we can capitalize on. Are you looking at those kinds of aspects as far as drawing tourism into our area? You got Abraham Lincoln, you got Mormon Trail, you got Lewis and Clark, all of these things. Abraham Lincoln used to own property in Council Bluffs.
Right.
I'm amazed that that we don't take advantage of of that historical aspect of our area. So are you looking to take that on too? Is that something
Well,
that
you know, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, it does the bulk of that work, and they would be one of the CVB would be one of the other few partners that we really need to be working in alignment with. And, you know, I would add Advanced Southwest Iowa Corporation, the city, and Iowa West Foundation in that grouping. What's important to me is that we explore what my organization can do to improve on all of those things, on tourism, on, you know, recreation, attracting visitors to Council Bluffs in partnership with the Convention and Visitors Bureau. They're doing that work. We certainly don't want to step on any toes. We want to support what they're doing. But what's most important to me is that we're aligned in our strategy. If the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the city and the county are engaged in efforts to attract people to our area, then we want to figure out like how how we can best support all of that work. So yes, I have a pretty regular meeting on the calendar with Mark Ekman, with the mayor and with Iowa West Foundation. So, you know, and I've got a regular cadence of meetings, you know, with those entities. And, you know, I'd like to do the same thing with the county. Because it's what's important that we're considerate about the things that we're doing. But at least right now, what's more important to me is that there's alignment among these agencies and my organization, that we're supporting and amplifying the work that the county and the Convention and Visitors Bureau and others are doing, and in supporting it in the best way.
Chris, I know that you you're working on doing a strategic plan, but maybe that'll be what comes out of it some, but do you have any rural board members on your team right now?
Let's see. I've got a couple of board members that live in Underwood. I'd have to think about that. I've got 20 of them, so in my head, I'm trying to go through a list, but there's a little bit of rural representation, yeah.
Well, you haven't made it to the east side yet then.
Probably not.
And there is
No.
two, if you don't know it or not, in a lot of people's minds in Potawatomi County, there's two parts of the county.
Yeah. Well, and there are other chambers of commerce supporting some of the rural areas, and you know, in the same regard as our work with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, what's important to me is that our region is attracting a workforce and attracting businesses and growing. It's not important to me exactly who's doing that work and how it's being done. We just want to support it. So if there are other chambers of commerce out there, you know, maybe the conversation isn't how we can get in and attract new chamber members and support their businesses. Maybe it's how we can better support those other organizations.
Western Iowa Development Association,
Yes.
which is WIDA, is one that we work with, and it supports a lot of the rural community.
Right.
If they, to be a member of the Chamber of Commerce, do they have to buy a membership to be at that table if they're a valued partner?
No. I think, you know, if you're, you know, the Omaha Chamber of Commerce is not a member of the chamber, and I meet with Heath Mello about quarterly, because it's important for us to be communicating about what they're working on to attract people to this region and how we fit into that conversation. So, yeah.
I know since I've been at the county, it's been confusing to me as far as being a member for the chamber and what the membership value brings. And
Sure.
Is the website up to date currently that explains what those membership roles are and what the price is for joining?
Yeah, there's the base membership is available online, and the benefits that we offer to chamber members are listed. Our focus, my focus in the last 7 or 8 months or so, since I've hired Jacob Cool, who's our Director of Member Services, has been to engage with members in using their member benefits. There's a trend, and I think this is not uncommon for any local chamber of commerce, that typically the entities, chamber members who are, don't see a lot of value in their membership are the same members that aren't utilizing their member benefits. So our focus has been on outreach to members and engaging them in using their membership benefits. But there's the direct benefit of being a chamber member and the things that we can do to help support businesses. Those are really important things. I also want to tell the story of the indirect benefit to the community in the things that other things that we are doing to grow and develop the community, and how that generates a benefit to, or a value to, our chamber members. That's a long-term strategy. None of this that we're talking about today is going to happen overnight, but now is a great time to be having these conversations because we're just beginning those strategic discussions.
So 712 had some building rehab projects that were in progress. Are those continuing?
We have one redevelopment project in progress right now, and yes, we're working on it every single day. So 12 Scott Street is the building right directly next to another project the 712 initiative did, the Cohen building on the 500 block of West Broadway. And we're working really hard because we have some funding sources that the time is running out on those. If we don't get the project completed by a certain time, and some of them are federal tax credits. So I am hesitant to say this publicly, but fingers crossed, if we can get some really key decisions and items nailed down here before the end of this year, we'll be able to get that project off the ground in January, February. If those things don't happen, then the project is sort of uncertain because we lose out on some brownfield tax credits because the project has to be completed by mid-year 2026 in order to qualify for those. So we're working on it really hard, and we're going to continue to do that. I think moving forward, that piece of formerly the PCDC mission is really important. We filled a really unique role, taking on projects that developers wouldn't take on, and we'll continue to do that.
Lynn had reached out to the county about cleaning up a property, and Kristen, I don't know what the status on that is. As far as working with Habitat for Humanity and Neighborhood Works and building 3 homes right in one neighborhood together. Is that one still ongoing? Or is it something we need to take off our to-do list?
I believe it is. And we've also got another project on Bluff Street with Habitat. It's a duplex basically, and we're gonna split it.
Where's the one you're talking about?
Is it Minster Springs? So Minster.
Oh, Minster?
I'll check on it.
Okay.
I'll check.
Because it's really a cool project.
Yeah.
Which one are you talking about, Scott?
She's talking about the one on 8th Street in Minster, I'm guessing.
Eighth
City
Street.
City owns a house, a couple houses burned down. The
Yeah.
city owns those lots.
Yeah.
Did you, Chris, be the happy inheritant of the empty ground that 712 had?
Which empty ground?
Oh, they got some parcels down here
On Main Street.
Main Street.
We still have those.
Okay. Did you inherit any others?
Well, whatever 712 initiative owned before, we still own now. So we have about 10 acres of split up among, I don't know, 5 or 6 parcels of ground that's not developable, that is considered urban prairie. That I think, we've partnered in different ways with the county on that. We own those lots on South Main Street. We have a few housing rehab projects in progress right now. There's one on Lawton, Bluff Street. There's one on 8th Avenue. In terms of property, I think that's about it. Yeah.
Hasn't changed much. I mean, I originally
No.
sat on that 712 board back in the day when it first started. Long I've been around, I guess.
The South Main property, are you looking to develop that into retail or what? Is there anything on the table?
There have been, discussions here and there, but nothing that, I would feel confident in telling you is a good possibility just yet, but we're working on it.
When
The city's gonna control the design of that,
when you
since
talk
that's a
about,
historical district.
when you talk about housing, okay, there's different housing, aspects. So for instance, market value housing, low rent, low cost housing. Are you focusing on any certain area of the housing market? I mean, what's happening over in Omaha? There's just a lot of opportunity for those, folks that are gonna be working over there, especially at the UNMC, to move over here because it'll be closer to their work.
Yeah.
That housing, they're, they would have a pretty good, financial wherewithal to buy whatever they would want to buy. Are you looking at that as housing, or are you concentrating on, workers' housing, low-cost housing, low-rent housing? Fill me in a little bit on what.
Well, you're touching on a key strategic conversation that we need to have. Because I would say the initial idea with the 712 Initiatives Housing Program was good. It was to kind of buy up the worst property on the block, rehab it, sell it, preferably, to a low to moderate income family. And then through other programs, we have other programs where we would make upgrades to other homes on the street. So this home might have needed a new fence. This one might need a new roof. This one needs some landscaping. This one needs to be painted. But the idea is that we would invest in a block. So what we're going to be doing in the future is, I can't really tell you because we're still trying to figure out where we fit. What I think is important though, is that we take a look at the workforce landscape and identify if there's a unique need that we can fill. And if there is, let's talk about it. If there's not, that's a different conversation. But I think in general, I think we want the private sector to take the lead on building units for, and much like PCD's redevelopment projects, where private development is not feasible because it's not cost effective and, it's just not of interest. That's, where we should probably fit in. But the other consideration is that, you've got Habitat for Humanity. They have a specific, mission and, formula for what they do. Neighbor Works Home Solutions. So in that landscape, we've got to figure out if there's a place for us to fit and how to fund it. So I don't know. That's a long way of saying I'm not sure. That's one of the very key strategic conversations that we need to have as an organization.
It's, Council Bluffs is a lot closer to downtown Omaha. Downtown Omaha
Yeah.
is going to be transformed, that it is, 280th and out in West Omaha, wherever. I mean, my wife, when my wife and I first moved to Potawatomi County, we lived in Trainer, and she worked in downtown Omaha, radio station. She would get to work faster in the morning than those that she worked with that lived out in West Omaha.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the traffic issue. And if you're looking at just right across the river, downtown Omaha is gonna be transformed. Those highly paid, employees, like I say, UNMC is one example. But they're looking for a place to live, and Council Bluffs would certainly be an appealing place if it
Right.
were made.
I agree. we're in a really unique position right now, not just in, Council Bluffs or the west side of town, but all of the surrounding communities are in a pretty unique position to attract workforce that is going to, even if they don't work in downtown Omaha, frequent those areas. In comparison to, I have plenty of friends who live way out in West Omaha. They almost never come to downtown or midtown Omaha. So we're in a unique position to fill that need. And like I said before, what we do specifically is a little less important to me than that we're in alignment with what everyone else is doing, that we're working collaboratively. I think we will achieve a lot more. If it's housing, we'll get a lot more units built and filled if we're all working collaboratively than if we're all kind of on our own doing our own thing. And that's one example of these strategic conversations that we need to have.
Chris, I hope that, in your discussions with your partners and the people that are involved in 712, I hope that the housing renovation is still part of your project or your plans, because the county has been able to work with our attorney and provide a couple of homes for rehab that had a $70,000 to $100,000 tax liability on them that would have never been renovated without that project and plans that 712 had at the time.
Sure.
And I just hope that's part of your goal moving forward, because there are still some out there. And, the tax sale happens every year. So you never know when an opportunity arises, but I hope you're able to continue that. The building that 712 was in, that owned by the chamber?
That's owned by Habitat for Humanity.
Oh, okay. So do you know, has anybody filled that office space?
Well, I can't speak for Blake and Habitat, but I believe that they were planning to, they had their offices in the basement of that building. And I think they're planning to move up and take those and
Okay.
might lease out the other offices.
So Susan, if you're gonna continue to sit on that 712 board, I think that, you're not.
No.
So part of the reason why I'm here is because when the two boards combined and consolidated, we went down from a total of 35 board members down to 20, with our goal of trying to get down to 15 at the end of this year. And through part of that conversation, we talked about ex officio board members on the chamber is technically the chamber board is the governing body for the 712 initiative and the Chamber of Commerce now. And the Chamber Board did not have ex officio members. So until we figure out, what the board structure is going to be long-term, Susan and I have talked about me coming and having conversations with the Board of Supervisors. Which is why I'm here, so.
Well, as I mentioned, I think there's still some housing renovation projects that are out there. And unless a nonprofit can do them, they'll be there forever.
Yeah.
As the ones that we partnered with,
Mhm.
I can't remember exactly what the taxes on them, but I think one was 80 and one was about $120,000.
Yep.
They're just not going to, there aren't any home remodelers out there that are looking for things like that.
Yeah.
So in order for us to get them back on the tax roll, somebody needs to be able to do it. We can provide the assistance and maybe relieve some costs, but we can't, we're not in the business to renovate houses, so we need
Right.
somebody else to help us.
Yeah. Well, I agree, getting them back on the tax rolls and more importantly, a family in there.
Well,
You
it
know,
starts to degrade the neighborhood, you know, if you got the one house on the street and everybody else is doing the right thing and.
Right.
And sooner or later, you know, like you said, get a family in there and hopefully it's owner occupied, then you have a better chance versus rentals, getting renters in there and such. And Lee, I don't know, you probably still have a list. A while back, you had a list of houses that didn't sell at the sheriff's sale. I mean, we would just have to go through that list and see which ones we cherry pick out of there maybe, so.
Yeah.
Um, it's,
We have a lot that went to you that were, public bidders,
right,
that are the 2 years or older. We
right.
got a lot of taxes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we need to
I
sit
can
down
give you
and
a list and I can give it to
sit
you.
down and have,
You could see.
bring that up to us, the board, and we can put it on the agenda to talk about, so.
Well, I'd like to see that list, Lee.
Okay.
And I don't know what the plan is, but Lynn Dittmers was, starting to become pretty well versed on that process of the tax sale stuff. And I think that's what the,
I'll
but the
send you-
county
When I go back downstairs, I'll make
can
you a
offer
list for all of you.
to get things rolling, so, thanks for coming in, Chris.
You bring up a good point, Tim, with the nonprofit. How did they land? Are they keeping the 712 501c3 designation and also the chamber's 501c6?
Yeah, all three entities exist exactly the way that they were,
All
legally, from an IRS standpoint. They are, yeah, the Chamber of Commerce as a 501c6. The chamber also has a foundation, 501c3. And then the 712 initiative is a 501c3. All three exist as they did before. They're just governed by one board of directors.
They're gonna continue to run the farmer's market and those other things then,
Yes.
but your board will end up deciding that ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't think that, we have some adjustments we need to make to our programs and services. There are, a couple of programs that we do that are probably going to get overhauled very significantly. For the Chamber of Commerce, for example, our workforce development programming, we are moving forward now with some pretty significant overhaul in what we do. And I'm happy to talk about that. I think that the county should be aware of workforce development initiatives that are happening in the county. The housing rehab program is another one that we have to take a look at simply because it's important to a lot of people. But if there isn't a funding mechanism, the projects just can't go because those projects only happen because there's a funder willing to fund the loss that you're gonna take. So, and that's even if you acquire the properties for basically for free. There's gonna be a loss. So, and knowing that Habitat and NeighborWorks are out there doing similar work, we just have to be intentional about what type of housing rehab program we do in alignment with those other agencies.
At one point, there's gotta be a point where it's just better to knock those projects in and start new, isn't it? Would 712 be part of that?
Well, if we continue a housing rehab program, I think every project is so unique. It's hard to say if, we're gonna have a model where we demo and rebuild. It just depends on the property. But they're all expensive.
Well, the lot size and.
Nothing's
You know,
cheap
I-
anymore.
No, I mean, it's a
Mayor,
challenging
I
time.
talked to the mayor, I don't know, was it the other day, last week sometime, but we gotta work on being able to create density
Right.
rather than, some of these, I guess, ordinances and stuff that we have. If we have a ground, like 2 blocks down in the west end that would support a triplex versus, I mean, a lot of these people don't wanna mow grass and do all that stuff anymore. They wanna go walk on the trails and ride their bikes and do those
Yeah.
things. So if we can, do that without having, set the separation between houses and build, more dense, we're gonna get more warm bodies.
Scott, maybe you'd know this. The city on South Main, would they require like a 2-story building with housing above
Yeah,
a business
it's gonna be something
as
that's,
if historic?
it's gonna be something that will match in with the, the neighborhood or the.
Because it sure builds a neighborhood also.
There's been a couple people that come forth, like Chris had indicated, probably since at least 4 different people came forth that we're gonna build a retail bottom and put apartments up above, but
Yeah.
it's an inexpensive endeavor, you know? And, then you got.
Yeah, you wanna construct something that, you know, continues the integrity of the other buildings on the block, and I understand that.
That could really help that area down there, with those on South Main, possibly bring some, more restaurants or retail.
Sure.
Restaurants beget more restaurants, so that's a nice area.
You can afford to go to one.
All right.
So
Well, I appreciate you allowing me to come. I hope to come back on a regular basis and provide some more updates on
Please do.
other things that we're working on, after we get through some of the strategic planning. I think, maybe coming back and focusing in on, 1 or 2 topics, for each visit, I think would be beneficial.
Thanks for your time.
But I appreciate your time. Thank you.
So,
you can,
so that I have kind of an understanding, as, being a funder for, the chamber for some initiatives, we're gonna get an ex officio position on potentially one of the boards. Is that what I'm hearing or not?
Well, I don't know.
So is the city in the same position as we are?
We don't have any ex officio members of the board. And the city is not represented on the board. iWest Foundation, the Convention of Visitors Bureau. What we did talk about is having those groups come a couple of times a year and having a strategic discussion with the board. I wasn't sure how possible that was with the city. We've got a mayor that can come and have a conversation with the board. With the county, I'm open to how we do that. I just want to
The
engage.
chair, whoever chair
Sure.
is.
No, we'd have posted.
Yeah,
Be a
and
board, the chair doesn't.
I just assumed it would be
Chair
me
runs the
coming
meeting,
to
not
your
the board.
meetings and, yeah.
No, I get that for the ex officio.
No, well, it's not, he's not talking about having an ex officio position.
Real quick, when I talk about tourism, I'll give you an example. Maybe you go
What?
visit
Everybody
this
go?
community. It's Galena, Illinois.
Supposed to.
You ever heard of Galena?
Mm-mm.
Nothing about it?
No, I
Galena,
don't think so.
Illinois is the most popular tourist attraction in the state of Illinois. It is the birthplace of Ulysses S. Grant, and it's basically their whole premise. Galena is not a very big town, about maybe 20,000. The
Mhm.
whole premise is history. I mean, the old houses that were there when Ulysses S. Grant was there, they renovate them, they paint them like in that era. And Ulysses S. Grant, before he joined the Union Army, ran a canning business, I believe, in Galena, Illinois. But Galena is all about history. And again, it's the biggest tourist attraction in Illinois. Take a trip and out there. It's an amazing place. It's an amazing place.
Sure, yeah, I'll look at it.
Field of Dreams did some filming scenes from Galena, Illinois.
Okay.
So just give you an example of what I'm looking at.
so Chris, you can tell by our level of involvement here that our partnership with the chamber is very important.
I appreciate
We
that.
look forward
Yeah.
to future dialogue, ways that we can interact.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you
And
very
then
much.
just one real quick note on workforce development. So the state was gonna divide us into, I wanna say like 20 counties, because I sat on that thing forever, me and the Mayor Walsh, until they told Mayor Walsh he couldn't sit on it anymore because he was a mayor. But we end up disbanding the State Workforce Development Board in southwest and northwest Iowa. So I don't know where that sits, who's doing it for the state, but there is no board that exists over here right now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, just FYI.
You're gonna walk out of here just knowing so much more about everything.
What I'm here
Thanks for
for.
coming though, Chris, I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks. All right, next up, Kristen Bracker, Attorney's Office, discussion and or decision to approve and authorize the board to sign resolution number 59-2024 entitled Resolution Establishing an Hourly Compensation Rate for Court-Appointed Attorney and Establishing a Payment Method for Court-Appointed Attorneys under Iowa Code Section 915.37. Good morning, Kristen and Matt.
Motion to approve.
Second. You've got it all worked out.
That's all I need. But honestly, this is more of a cost control issue for the county. I mean, we're already required to appoint attorneys. This doesn't happen very often. Usually in child abuse cases, obviously parents are the best guardians, but frequently they're the defendants. And even in the cases where they're the defendants, frequently we've got child abuse cases, we have juvenile court cases that are coming along at the same time where the kids have attorneys appointed for them. This is really for the pretty rare occasion where we've got attorneys that are, need to be appointed, but there's no existing child abuse juvenile case. And there's been a couple of times where different counties around the state have got popped. They've got appointed attorneys. The attorneys want to make sure they get paid. There's been no mechanism for how they get paid, and they charge their regular hourly rate, which is maybe $300 an hour. The court-appointed attorney rate for vast majority of these cases is going to be $66 an hour. Could be up to, was it 73, I think, $68 to $73 an hour. And so in the case that we have these, cases, and we've really just, Kristen grabbed the one that they used in Monona County, tweaked it a little bit for our purposes. But Monona had this dispute, an attorney came in and submitted a bill for, I don't know, $250 an hour, something like that. And the county sent back their resolution and showed that they were limited to court-appointed rates. We have one case right now where we need to get a court-appointed attorney for a child victim. I'm gonna just fund it out of my budget. I don't see any problem with that. I'm just telling you, long-term, I don't like that solution. It's not that I care whether or not you add to my budget a line item or not. I have some ethical concerns with, we shouldn't be paying attorneys that are supposed to be giving us neutral reports. I mean, I hire expert witnesses and I sort of expect the experts are gonna say what I expect them to say because I'm paying them. This is the point of this, is that kids are entitled to have guardian ad litem attorneys that represent their interests. And I don't want out long-term people to be thinking, oh, well, I will write favorable reports that Matt Wilbur wants to read so that I get future business. I just don't think that's a good way of doing business. I like to win cases, but I want to win them fairly. And I want people, I mean, we don't get to say, like in the jury room, coffee provided by the county attorney's office. We don't provide coffee. But if you do, right, it's those little subtle things that might give people the incentive to come out your way. And so in the event that this is something that I think we're going to use a lot, I can't think of a handful of times in 20 years where we've had this request. So vast majority of times we have existing guardians in child abuse in China cases that our juvenile court attorneys are handling. This has probably come up 4 or 5 times in 20 years. I mean, it's very rare.
Matt, that's $66 to $73 an hour. The court, they have to do this, correct?
Yeah, if they're on the contract, that's, yeah.
Okay,
And so, and the thing is, like, if somebody comes in and says, they get arrested and they say, I need a court-appointed attorney, the state has what we call the Indigent Defense Fund that pays for that. And we've already reached out to the state and they're like, yeah, this is not something that goes under the Indigent Defense Fund. That is for defense of indigent defendants.
Your kids.
Yeah, 91537 says that in child abuse cases, whether it's child endangerment or sex abuse cases, that the kids are entitled to have attorneys that represent them that we call guardian ad litem. And honestly, I mean, We want them to have this representation for a variety of reasons, one of which is it helps protect the kids. Honestly, we settle a lot more cases when we have GALs involved. They're able to talk, represent the kids' interests. They frequently are able to help talk the defendants into taking deals that we are not able to, which then protects, honestly, our jury pool. We got a child sex abuse case that's going on right now upstairs, and their whole yesterday morning was spent bringing back jurors individually so that they could they could talk about how sex abuse has affected their lives. And you can imagine that when somebody is asked to come in and they have to relive the fact that they got molested when they were 12 years old and they're now 40 and they've tried to put that beyond them and now they have to talk about it, it's pretty traumatizing to our prospective jurors. It's obviously traumatizing to our kids to have to go through the trial. So any case we can settle, I always believe in Sun Tzu, it's better to avoid the battle than win the battle. I mean, if you can settle the case and we don't have to put kids through trials and we don't have to put our jurors through those, it's better. So I don't anticipate this is even going to be thousands of dollars to deal with. It might be on this one case, we'll see. But this is a pretty rare occasion it comes up. What I mostly want to do is make sure that I don't have an attorney submit a bill for $300 an hour on this rare occasion that we get, that we then have to pay because we don't have another mechanism in place. Now we know. This limits us to the court-appointed rate. That adjusts over time, but it hasn't moved up much. So,
That's, when they can't get reimbursed for their, what they charge on a regular rate.
Right.
For lawyers to maintain their law license, do they have to donate some of their time?
no, you're talking about pro bono work, and certainly our law licenses they request that lawyers do a certain amount of pro bono work. Some attorneys are very active in that in private practice, some never do it. But they obviously want to make sure, we all have an obligation to make sure that everybody has access to some sort of legal services. But the reality is, it is tough to get attorneys that want to do this work. I mean, representing kids in child sex abuse cases is hard work, and they're not going to do it for free. And we just can't we're having like one or two that are pretty good that do this a lot in juvenile court, and they're like, I'm willing to do it, but I'm not willing to do it for free. So if they're willing to do it the court-appointed rate, I say bless them for doing that, because that is I guarantee you, my child sex abuse prosecutors, that is soul-killing work. It is burnout work. I've lost several of those attorneys over the years to just because they're like, you can't do it very long. I mean, it's just, these are hard cases.
I'll bet.
So, two quick questions on this thing. The rate, as you stated, is subject to change. Does the state do the changing of the rate?
Yes.
So who decides whether it's 68 or 73 then?
So each type of case is a certain rate. So like A felonies is 78, B felonies is 73. All of the other cases less than B felonies are
Okay, so there you got
68.
You got a menu.
Yep.
And then typically, one of these cases, and you said you only had maybe 5 in the last 20 years. How many hours does the court-appointed attorney usually spend on that?
It
I don't
really
know.
depends.
From 0 to 100?
It would be a lot less than 100.
If it goes to trial, you might put in, 25 or 30 hours. If it is settled, you might put in 5 or 8. It really depends on what happens.
So I think what I heard Matt say, so when you come with your budget this time, you're gonna put an amount in there like, what, $5,000?
I'm saying I already have a legal and court-related expenses line item in my budget. So I just plan on using that line item if for this particular case bill that I know that's coming up. If it looks like we're starting to see more of these, and if I thought I had one of these every other year, I'm gonna just say, we're gonna just eat it, because I don't think that's enough business that I'm worrying about people shading their reports, in a way that I want. But if it looks like this is starting to become something, I mean, I hate to say, but, I'm not saying child sex abuse is on the rise, but the reporting of child sex abuse is definitely on the rise, which means that we have more cases to deal with, and that's been the case. And it's an unfortunate trend
Well,
that
we
we've been
have a
dealing with.
lot more people that are required to do reporting.
100%.
And they're a lot more educated.
Yeah, we're better
about-
at spotting it and.
About spotting it and stuff like that, and with the younger teachers coming in, they're getting even more stuff. So,
Yeah, Kristen knows more about the, the amount of time, only because prior to coming to my office, she did quite a bit of this work, with in the juvenile
so how
court
many,
system.
would there be in our town? I mean, there ain't hardly anybody in town that works for $68.
Yeah, but you'd say, I mean, we don't have a lot, but we certainly have probably, 3, 4, 5 that
Yeah,
are
there
gonna.
might be 5. I
Yeah.
know one of the ones that used to do it a lot, has been hesitant to take new cases because she wasn't getting paid for them. So I think this will help.
I mean, the reality is, I think for a lot of the attorneys, you've got your, court-appointed work, sort of satisfies the pro bono obligation, right? Because you're helping provide
Right.
legal services, right? So it sort of helps you with that, at least your conscience. But it also, I mean, these are good pay the overhead cases, you don't know that paid clients are gonna come in and choose to hire you. And so a lot of attorneys that might regularly charge $250, $300 an hour, they have their court-appointed work, which sort of keeps the lights on, pays for their internet, does all of those things. And so you've got a certain guaranteed amount of work at the lower rate that covers their office overhead. And then they're using the private retained clients that sort of make their mortgage payments and pay for their cars and new suits.
A good way to put it.
Yeah.
Diplomatic.
Right.
Matt, Kristen, 2 real quick questions. This isn't a yearly thing, right? This should
This-
be covers for.
Yeah, and that's why we put in, or I shouldn't say we, that's why Kristen put in the code sections, because then as the Iowa legislature adjusts court-appointed rates, ours just follows the Iowa code, whatever that would be. So this is not a year-by-year deal.
And you agree with the language in there? It says that we hereby adopt reasonable compensation calculation as laid out in the Iowa code.
Yeah.
You're okay with that?
Yeah, and that's, like I said, I feel like this is more cost protection for us. It puts a ceiling, because these bills have to be reviewed and make sure that they're not
Okay, last
adding.
question.
Yep.
Do they debate this every year in the legislature?
There's always a push for talking about the difficulty in getting court-appointed attorneys for defendants. I mean, not in this context. We're just really tying our guardian ad litem rate to the criminal defense rate. But I mean, I would say there is always some debate about that. There's definitely not as many attorneys. I mean, I can tell you, I try cases against the same 4 or 5 attorneys all the time, because we just don't have qualified court-appointed attorneys that can handle murder cases. We just don't. I mean, we have very, very few. And so I end up seeing the same 4 or 5 attorneys all the time. And a lot of that is because we just have a lot of good lawyers that are like, I'm not gonna work for $78 an hour. They're just not gonna do it. And for you to defend a case, I mean, I know if I was in private practice and Matt Wilbur, private lawyer, somebody came to me and said, I got a first-degree murder case, will you defend me? I would probably say, sure, $150,000. I mean, that's the amount of work that goes into a first-degree murder case, to defend it competently is well into the 6 figures. And almost nobody that we prosecute for murder can afford a private lawyer. So they're almost always court-appointed, which then limits us to, that pool. It's just, yeah, so that's getting around to saying, yes, I think everybody in the system acknowledges that we are struggling to get attorneys that are willing to do any court-appointed work. And trying to raise fees for them is always something that the legislature discusses. but I think the surveys seem to indicate that that's not the big reason why people don't do it, is not the money. And that's why they hardly ever adjust it, because they're like, we could raise it $10 an hour and it wouldn't get us any extra attorneys, so why raise it?
Yeah, it's, it's just, I think it's important that the board knows what those court-appointed attorney rates are.
Yeah.
It's, speaking as Tim Wickman, a board member, not for the board, I really don't like leaving things open and letting the state tell us how much we have to pay.
Well, we can always adjust if we needed to. We felt like that anchor is something that other counties have done. And it honestly really keeps us, I think, limited, but it also guarantees that at least the attorneys that are willing to do work at the contract rate are available to us.
I would guess that the judicial every year lobbyists and them work to get these adjusted.
No, it was raised, I think, 3 times while I was practicing over 5 years.
Yeah.
But I think it was raised by, I think it started at 65, maybe 63. So now it's at 68.
And I feel like it might have sat there for 15 years
Yeah.
before that.
Yeah.
So it's,
You got the new Chief Justice.
When it's the state public defender's office is one of the driving forces of that too.
He was big on doing the kid stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, every year I think they try to get it raised up to like $100 and the legislature's like, whoa, that's not happening.
It moves very slowly.
Yeah, it's a glacial pace of increase. But if there was ever an issue where the board was concerned, I mean, it's not like you can't come in and adopt a different resolution that puts a number into it. We were really trying to do one that made this as least work annually for the board possible. We just sort of allow our rates to increase as any other court-appointed attorney rates would. And if there comes a time where you think, whoa, the legislature got out of control this year, went too high, we could come back and do another resolution that capped it for ourselves.
When
We look for your lead on that.
Yeah.
You guys.
Yeah, I mean,
talk to us.
I think it's tough enough to get court-appointed attorneys. And so if whatever gets worked out as the court-appointed attorney rate, I think it's just easiest to follow along with that. But like I said, I don't totally, I mean, I sort of share Tim's opinion. There are times I can see where the state might get out of control and do something that was, would cause us a huge financial burden. And if they said, well, we want court-appointed attorneys to be $250 an hour, then I think we would come back and I would chat with you and we would probably adjust our number down.
More out of control.
Yeah.
The important thing is, Matt, you said you've only seen it a handful of times in your 20 years, so it's not like it's a big deal with that. Susan, I'll call for the vote.
We got a motion by Bell and a second by Shay to approve resolution number 59-2024. Melvin, will you call the roll, please?
Member Miller,
Aye.
Supervisors Belt,
Aye.
Wickman.
Aye.
Shay
Aye.
and Jorgensen.
Aye.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for your work in this.
It's good.
It's interesting
yeah.
to hear. I mean, it just incredible. You just don't even think of some of this stuff.
Matt, real quick, say attorneys that just got out of law school, okay, and they were in business. Are those the kinds of attorneys that be willing to take on these lower?
I would say some, but I mean, we also have pretty experienced attorneys. I mean, that's, like I said, the murder case that I just tried a few months ago against Drew Corris. I mean, he's 70 years old. He was his first assistant in the 70s in the county attorney's office, right? So, sometimes, and he's a hard-nosed opponent to deal with. So sometimes I think you get honestly sort of both ends of the spectrum, very experienced and pretty new. It's sort of the ones that are grinding in the middle that's trying to make a bunch of money in their 40s that you don't see in the court appointment list.
Absolutely.
Is that fair?
Yep.
Just don't murder nobody and you won't have this issue.
I agree.
Just don't get caught.
Watch Dateline. They all think they won't get caught.
Yeah. So, by the way, one of our other murder cases was just, I highlighted, or it's out right now on Fox Nation, the Bramer case that Dr. Bodden testified in for us early last year. But I just got an email from their producer today, said it's now streaming on Fox Nation. So
Oh my
the
gosh.
Bodden Files, the episode's called The Zipper. But if you happen to subscribe to something that gets Fox Nation,
Was he convicted?
he was.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, man.
You're a celebrity.
There you go.
Pretty comfortable life.
Can I have your
Nice and
autograph?
quiet.
Yeah.
Sure, I just got your autograph, so I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks, you
All
guys.
right.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Very interesting.
It's good to see you, man.
All right, next up, Lee Ostrey, discussion and or decision on rehire of treasurer, clerk to and pay.
So moved.
Second, no.
Lee?
I don't get anything to say.
Yeah, you speak right up, Lee. We're always listening.
No,
here.
I don't have to say anything and I'll take 2 minutes. This is somebody that worked there for 28 years. Her husband had a stroke. He was in rehab and we thought she was gonna come back. She couldn't, and one day she called, so they can't come. And my hope was she'd come back. And then one day she came in and you could tell that she was beside herself. And I says, well, what if you came back part-time? She thought about it, so she's coming back tomorrow. So,
This,
and I've
Great.
been trying to hire, I'm not having very good luck because of the hourly wage that people start at. And, we're in need of people. I've tried and tried to,
You said this was part-time?
yes,
What, so you said she'd been gone for how long?
since January,
Oh, this year?
yeah.
Oh, I thought you said 28 years.
No, she's been there. She's been in my office for
Okay.
28 years.
Okay.
is
So I was
this,
gonna say technology probably if she'd been gone for 20.
No, yeah, you're right. No, she left in January,
Okay.
so,
is this Leah?
yes.
What kind of part-time hours is she going?
She said 8 to noon for now to
Oh,
see,
okay.
how that
That'll
works.
help a lot.
Because he's still at home rehabbing and she's been taking care, so we'll see.
She missed out on the tax days,
The what?
the taxes.
She loves the tax and she
Well,
started.
They
on the
finished up,
tax.
right?
The what?
The taxes finished up?
Oh, heavens no. Here, would you like to file? There you go.
Them were passed, or was that then?
No, these were upstairs in my mailbox from yesterday.
So they were still good?
Yeah, they're so good.
Postmark.
Well, they'll be postmarked, so we'll be working the same for a couple days.
Yeah, okay.
Yesterday, I think we took in over $4 million. And
People walked
they
in?
want to come in here. It's funny how
They
a
bring-
person wants
bags
to
of
come in
pennies,
here
didn't
and
they?
hand you a check. And I had myself had over like 50-some thousand of farmers that got out of the combine and came in.
Wow.
Nobody brought in bags of pennies.
No. No.
Okay.
Nobody ever brings.
No paid in kind, no.
The what?
No paid in kind, bushels of corn or anything.
No, I got enough of that at my own house. I don't need any more.
Tim, you said Leah?
Leah.
This is Cynthia, this is.
Her real name is Cynthia Leah,
Okay. All right.
but we only know.
I don't know.
No, I know, I just, with the
Yeah.
name you said.
Nobody
it's
knows
different
her
than
as
what's here.
Cynthia.
All right.
She doesn't like.
But everybody knows her. She's been there for,
Been there a long time and she's very knowledgeable and I can't.
very helpful.
When you're looking for somebody to, I've been trying to hire for, 2 weeks and then we train them and then they go to the counter and fight the fire and they say it's too stressful and too challenging. So it's really hard.
Then you should send them down to 911 for a
Well,
couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think they were supposed to go out to the jail and work there for a while.
All right, so we have a motion by Wickman and a second by Shay to approve the rehire. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, thank you,
Opposed?
thank you.
Thank
Motion
you,
is
Lee.
carried.
Thanks for sitting through all that.
Yeah, well, no problem.
All right, next up, discussion and or decision to approve an authorized chairperson to sign employment agreement with Director Chief Medical Examiner Investigator Cody
So
Payne.
moved. Second.
Okay, second by Beth. All in favor?
Well, just
Aye.
one question. Do you sign this, Susan, or do we have to have you and Doctor both sign that?
Signed by Cody and is signed by the chair.
Okay.
I'm sure this is a duplicate of what was presented for the past position.
And I think this is just his contract with the
Us, okay.
supervisors. So Dr. Elliott would.
Didn't he have to get something from the state?
And I don't know how that all
If
works.
he's gotten
but
in that or not? Does that go to the doctor?
That would go to
Elliott?
Dr. Elliott.
Okay, well, we might want to follow up on that.
We should get a copy for the personnel file.
Right,
But
sure.
Assuming Jana will.
Does that come to you?
No, it would just go to Jana.
Okay.
Keep in mind with that, Scott, that he, was approved by the state to be the, second in command, so
Yep.
we shouldn't have any trouble having.
Well, right.
First in command.
Well,
Maybe
you
Janet
never know.
can send us out an email as
Right.
when that comes in. Thank you.
Did we vote?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, next we have Mitch Kai, Chief Financial Officer, discussion and or decision to authorize board chair to sign the forgiveness portion of the small town forgivable note for Oakland.
So,
Second.
Okay, the only thing on this one, Mitch.
Yep.
And of all three that we're doing, the Oakland didn't have the mayor sign it. They had their, what they call their
City clerk,
city clerk or
City administrator.
city administrator it was.
As far as it just being the request for the forgiveness, I think that's just fine. What they're really looking for is the board's signature on, recognizing that they had all their expenses all documented and it was within, their project scope, which was that amphitheater.
So,
I don't see any issues with the request coming from the clerk.
okay. It should be, I don't know, they should probably attach their minutes to this.
I think they'll take the signed forgiveness document and put it in their minutes for their next meeting.
Okay. Then you get a copy to put in the file.
Yeah,
Because I think the feds, when they come and audit this time, are gonna grab these files.
so I'm sure they will. Yeah.
Good.
All right, so we have a motion by Wickman and a second by Shea. Is there additional discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Next up, Mitch Kai, Chief Financial Officer, discussion on and or decision to authorize board chair to sign the forgiveness portion of the small town forgivable note for Neola.
so move.
Second.
Motion by Wickman, a second by Bell. Is there additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I noticed the trails at Neola when we were out there for Hoodoo Days and obviously got them all installed and they look great.
Yeah,
Around the park.
Yes,
Isn't that nice?
Susan, would you like to make the motion on this next item?
no,
So move.
okay.
Second.
So this is, let me get to that page.
Oh, kind of stepping ahead, are we?
The discussion and our decision to authorize the board chair to sign the forgiveness portion of the small town forgivable note for Carson. So that was Wickman that made that motion? And who had the second?
Yeah.
And I just want to point out that this was for the demolition of 2 vacant buildings on the main street in Carson. And if you drive through Carson today, there is a brand new building that's located on that property. And it is providing taxes. And tomorrow night, October 2nd, they are hosting a car show at that distillery. And the ice cream shop will be open and the bar and grill will be open and it will be a block full of activity. And if you haven't been to Carson lately, tomorrow night would be a great night to go. So
It's really changed Carson, hasn't it?
it's
Vibrant again.
moving in the right direction.
Yes, it is.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, committee appointments, update from last week. Brian, you want to go first?
Went to the rural summit out at Avoca Country Club, which was very informative. That was a nice deal. We had a trails meeting on Tuesday. We all done the state of the county on Monday. And then the EMA, I went to the open house on Thursday evening down on, that's Pearl, right? Or is that it? Yeah, that's Pearl. And Then on Saturday, I went to that Canesville Memorial dedication.
Thank you for doing that.
Yes, you're welcome. And then, of course, Penny retired yesterday as our assessor, so that was something, so hate to see her go, but deserved.
I was at the Trails meeting too, along with Brian, and I'm really impressed with their efforts to, they've got a project they're working on that actually is going to be a bike trail across the country. Across Iowa, through Pottawatomie County, crossing the river in Council Bluffs, am I correct?
Yes, Great Rails Trail, National Trail.
Yeah, I'm certainly fully supportive of those efforts, and I appreciate the Trails Committee getting that. Brian, you headed that up many years ago, so thank you very much for that. Also, on TV, this weekend, last night especially, I watching the news and seeing all the devastation that happened because of Hurricane Helene. I was moved to donate some money to a charitable organization that's down there helping these folks through this carnage. And I would certainly, at this point, anybody listening, people here, encourage you to donate to these organizations. And there's a lot of them out there. Just some of them that I'm going to mention: the American Red Cross, Salvation Army, United Way. Catholic Charities, there's many more. But boy, I tell you, there's a lot of devastation down there, and those folks certainly. So I'd encourage everybody to donate towards that. Thank
As little or as much as they can.
you. Yeah,
They say they haven't even got to most of the places yet.
yeah, there's.
The roads are gone.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's devastating. So,
Yeah,
A couple things. Next week, not next week. The the Monday before the election, the auditor may need this boardroom on Tuesday, hopefully after our board meeting at noon. So if we can do, whatever we can to make sure that our meeting is over by noon, so in case the auditor's office needs this room, open absentee ballots, we should make sure that they have that opportunity. And then we all got an email about the parcel in Minden that has back taxes on it. Kristen, are you aware of that?
Yes,
Are we working on that
I have not yet, but it is on my to-do list for today.
on your to-do list for today,
Yes.
along with the,
450 other things? Yes.
yeah, the Manawa properties
Yeah, that's all there is.
and the North Eighth Farm? Okay, perfect. That's all I have.
Okay.
with that Minden request, and in light of what's happened in the city of Hamburg and their audit from their disaster, I guess I'd like to see those requests come in collectively from the city and not from an individual company.
Well, yeah, you are 100% correct, Susan. I think the name of the game is for us to get the ownership of it first, and then we can deed it to the city.
Yes, but I'd like to see the request come from either McClure being part of their effort to revitalize, or from the city itself, not from an individual who was sitting at the meeting saying, oh, I can help that. I will just send this to the Board of Supervisors and ask. And they were being helpful, and that's great, but I would just expect to see more of a coordinated process.
I would agree with that, although we're in the beginning stages, and the name of the game is to get get ownership of it first. However, we would not take ownership of it unless it was, there was a plan in place to have it, especially this particular parcel, combined with another one, so it's actually a buildable lot.
Right, right. I understand that. I just,
Yeah.
there's gonna be some trouble down there, isn't there? Hamburg.
Hey, Pacific Junction's in the same boat.
Yeah. We don't need that.
Anyway, I just wanted to make sure that we had that on our plate to do. I mean,
Good.
that's, you know, the back taxes on that are tremendous, and it's another one of those things, like we spoke about earlier, if we can't be the catalyst to make it happen, it's not gonna happen.
Correct.
So we need to do that.
Scott,
I was at the EMA thing. Nice event, nice evening. MAPPA had a meeting over there. They talked about, Pacific Junction and, oh shoot, what was it? Hamburg, so. And then, the Rural Summit and State of the County. Guess that was about it.
Thank you. All right, so I attended the Rural Summit in Avoca. I also had lunch with Christine Hagan and learned about Heartland Family Services and the mental health programs that they offer, and that was very educational to me. I attended the ribbon cutting at the Iowa West Foundation Collaboration Center, which is located on the Lakin campus, and that's quite a facility that's housing a lot of our nonprofits.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Did they have a piano on the roof?
Yes.
I would have liked to have seen that. Somebody was talking about that.
And then I also attended the county preparedness at the EMA. I appreciate the comments about November 5th and working our meeting around it. And Scott mentioned this morning that if we postponed our meeting to this day after the election, if we need to.
It'll be kind of depend on how many absentees requests we have, how many ballots that we need to open. Because 4 years ago, we had, I don't know, well over 20,000, and it took all day Saturday and most of Monday. But we were allowed to open on Saturday because of the pandemic. But this year, we're not allowed to open on Saturday. We'll have to start on Monday. And if we don't get done, we'll need space to do it on Tuesday.
Well, that's most important. Our election's most
But
important.
we'll know more. But those requests are really coming in pretty hot and heavy now, so.
When does early voting start?
At the counter, October 16th.
October 16th, okay.
And we'll mail the ballots out on October 16th, and you can start voting at the counter the same day. Up until the Monday before. So we'll know by how long these lines are out here in the hallway, how many ballots we're gonna have to open on Monday and Tuesday.
And then most important, Fire Prevention Week starts next week. Find a volunteer fire department, have pancakes this weekend. There's several of them that are doing it.
I believe this weekend there is a dinner out at Underwood too for their fire department,
Yeah, it's Saturday night,
Saturday evening.
Sunday night.
So
Yep.
participation helps.
All right. And we don't have anyone for the public here. So with that, we are moving to a study session with Suzanne Watson. And we are going to talk about